Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 241 of the All Dolphins podcast. This is a bonus episode that we didn't think we were going to do. However, we need to catch up because a lot of things have happened since Wednesday, which was our last Omar and Pupar only podcast. Because on Thursday, we had our great writer roundtable discussion with Dave Hyde and Joe Shad. And then on
You should
Friday,
check that out.
episode 239. And on Friday, episode 240, was good friend and longtime draft analyst Tony Pauline talking about all things related to prospects of Dolphins and the combine and all that good stuff. And in the meantime, Dolphins have been busy making moves. There have also been happenings around the NFL which could conceivably affect the Dolphins in terms of contracts signed by players at key positions, i.e. defensive tackle and guard. Before we do that, we are going to do a history lesson today because we don't have a guest and Omar and I can only talk for so long. Right, Omar? Something.
Oh, yeah, we can only talk for 40 minutes a pop.
Exactly. No, because we don't want to. I don't know why we don't do it. We don't want to subject our guests. We want to get right to our guests, but we don't have a guest. So today's episode 241, as I said, Dolphins have never picked a player 41st overall. They have picked a player 241st overall, which is the exact number of the episode. And the one of them, I'm going to be honest, I'd never heard of the name. Actually, no, I had heard of the name going through the media guide before, but I don't recall anything. Is a DB, Tom Byer in 1967. And then the one I do remember, running back from East Carolina in 2002, which was the year the Dolphins traded for Ricky Williams. They doubled down and actually played for the Dolphins for a couple of years, and that would be Leonard Henry. That might be, he may have been gone by the Dolphins, from the Dolphins before you hopped on the beat, Omar.
Oh, I hopped on the beat 2007. Yeah, the Leonard to 5 years. That's a long time for a player.
He played. In fact, now I have to look it up to do my.
Now I have to look it up.
He was a running back. He was with some size, some speed. Yeah, never mind. He played only in the 2004 season for the Dolphins. Started 2 games, 46 carries, 141 yards. So, but he was somebody who actually made an impression running camp because I remembered him without having to look up. Yeah, he wore number 26. Anyway. Okay, let's move on. It's not necessarily a great chapter in Dolphin history, but such is life in the big city. Okay, so I think the best place to start, Omar, from my end would be the contract signed by Baltimore Ravens defensive tackle Justin Madubuike, because it kind of pertains to what kind of dollars we should expect Christian Wilkins to command on the open market.
Absolutely. I've done a statistical and analytical breakdown of what the most recent defensive tackles and the highest defensive tackle deals are. Madubuike, is that how you say your name? Say it again.
Madubuike.
Madubuike.
Yeah.
What the numbers that are being reported are $98 million. 75.5 million is reported as going to be guaranteed, and I do believe that now that I some of the details of the deal, it's going to be honored on the third day, like the third year of the contract is going to become fully guaranteed on like the second day of the second year. So he is realistically, and I did not know this at the time, which is why it's important for when contracts come out that we actually take a look at it. But it looks like he's going to make a legitimate $24 million a year, which I could tell you for a fact, based on studying the former deals, he's going to make that $24 million in the first 3 years of the deal. And as you know, I only care about the guaranteed money. And when you're looking at guys like Daron Payne, who's going to make 22.1 in the first 3 years of the deal, and Quentin Williams, who's going to make 18.5, and Jeffrey Simmons, who's going to make 19.7, and and Hargraves, who's going to make 20.7. It's 24 is a huge jump, and you could also expect Chris Jones to push that number closer to 30, which is where Aaron Donald is. So everybody was saying that, Christian Wilkins, he's probably going to command $24 million on the open market. And I thought, okay, that's probably, $24 million of fake numbers, fake contract, with the final 4th or 5th year bumping up the average that he'll never ever see. But based on Justin's deal, he might be looking at a legit $23-24 million in terms of guaranteed money that he receives over the next 3 years.
And I think it increases the likelihood he'd be gone.
Oh, no. I think if you're past 20, he's gone. 22, c'est la vie. 24, best of luck to you wherever you end up. And this is no disrespect to Christian Wilkins, who as a player that I thought really he checks every single box that you want as a player. But $24 million, just a tad rich for me.
Oh,
a year.
To me, maybe more than that. And then we need to go back to what Baltimore did last year, paying very little to their defensive line, and they got pretty good results. So no, I don't think it's realistic. And again, for those wondering why not the franchise tag, I'm doing a mailbag today earlier, and I got a question: why not the transition tag on Christian, which would have been about $18.5 million, and then let somebody else negotiate? Well, chances are you wouldn't have matched anyway if he's going to get that kind of money. And then the other problem is that number is tied on your salary cap until there's a resolution. And that resolution could have been as simple as the Dolphins rescinding the transition tag, which is what they did with Olivier Vernon back in 2016.
I think they did it with Charles Clay too.
Well, no, with Charles Clay, they just didn't match. They cut the tag. They just didn't match the offer he got from Buffalo.
Right.
So the thing is, I think it could be a possibility where I think maybe the Dolphins read the tea leaves and saw where this market's going and decided, we're not matching it.
And as I pointed out previously, Paul Soliai back in the early 2000s was the last. No, it wasn't 2000s. It was
2010s.
2010s was the last Dolphins player that Dolphins defensive lineman that they actually signed to a multi-year deal that they drafted. Now they've taken care of Zach Sealer, but let's be real about that. Zach wasn't drafted by this team. He was just a great waiver wire find. And as we've said on past podcasts, when I'm paying Zach $8 million a season, which is what he's making, how do I justify paying Christian Wilkins 3 times the salary?
Yeah, and the other point is it needs to be said, because I know you mentioned this ad nauseum, that they haven't re-signed one of their draft pick defensive tackles to a second contract since Paul Soliai. They also have never drafted an Aaron Donald or a Chris Jones, if we're going to be honest about it. I mean, they've had good players at DT, nothing to that caliber. The other contract around the league that's problematic if you're a Dolphin fan looking to retain a player is the one that Kevin Dotson, former got with the Rams. By the way, if you saw on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Robert Hunt's tweet as a shout out to his dude. Well, the dude they played together at the University of Louisiana, or it may have been Louisiana Lafayette at the time. But anyway, ULL, that school, from 2015 through 2019, they were together for a while. So Hunt obviously happy for his dude, also happy because it was a nice juicy contract, which again sets his market value at a price that's also going to make it difficult for the Dolphins to match, because he's going to get some interest, because Kevin Dotson was viewed as a top guard on the free agent market along the same lines as Robert Hunt. And I don't have the details right in front of me, which I should, as far as exactly what Kevin Dotson got, but it was a nice chunk of change, as they say.
So substantial. Yeah. He got 3 years, $48 million. Can't tell you what the guaranteed money is, but it's
$32 million guaranteed.
$32 million guaranteed. So that's 2 years. That's about 16 a year. Jesus.
Yeah. The gentleman did well for himself.
Yeah. For a guard, no, thank you. No offense. And love Robert Hunt. Want to see him max out his money. Want to see him create generational wealth. I am going to miss him. And there are few players that I could tell you I'm going to miss. Had great conversations with Rob Hunt. Love the guy's personality. But I want you to go get your money, and Miami don't have no money for you.
And this is where Dolphin fans are going to get pissed off at you for being, why are you so pro player? Why are you not worried about the team keeping the good players? And Omar's like,
because I actually know and care about the players, unlike fans.
do you not know and care about the team like fans?
The team is going to be fine. They're going to do some really stupid shit,
Okay.
and then pretend like it's all good and figure out a way to sell you hope, and you're going to buy it, and then they're going to produce the 5th straight winning season and then lose in the playoffs again, unless they go get Derrick Henry.
We're not talking about Derrick Henry in this podcast.
I know they're not going to go get Derrick Henry.
Okay, good. At least you know that.
Doesn't mean that I can't live in delusion land and think that that's the solution. Okay. But the team, I'm dying to see the team that does go get Derrick Henry, because more than likely they're going to use him as a finishing piece, which is what Miami Dolphins should be trying to use him as.
You're like Baltimore or Dallas, one of those teams. And here's the thing about Robert Hunt. I like Robert Hunt also. He's a good dude. I'm not like friends with him like Omar is, but I've had interactions with him, and very, very good dude. He's a very good player. But again, you have to balance out how much money do you spend and what kind of an impact a guard can make for an offense. And
a right guard, which is supposed to be the easiest position. Notice I said the word supposed to be the easiest position in the NFL to find.
Why more right guard than left guard if your quarterback's a lefty?
Oh, wow. You threw the lefty at me. That's very important. Yeah. I mean, if your quarterback's a lefty, maybe the left guard is really your right guard. So but you generally face the best pass rushers on the left side. A quarterback's blind side. Okay. Nobody's switching their best pass rusher to be on to his blind side.
Okay, fair enough. But again, to me, it comes down to how much money do you allocate for a position. If you're going to go through the roster, a right guard is pretty low on the totem pole.
You can't pay Teron Armstead big money. Austin Jackson big money. I think you have enough money to pay 3 guys big money, but then you have to decide who it's going to be. And I personally don't think it's going to be Connor Williams right now. Maybe after June 1st, we can revisit Connor Williams when you get the Xavier Howard money. And you see where he is from a rehab standpoint, but I don't think he's going to be the answer right now. And did you pay attention to how hot Mitch Morse's market is on these streets right now?
Well, no, he's got a couple of visits already set up.
He already visited the Steelers, going to Jacksonville. That, it's funny because you got to listen to that Tony Pauline conversation, because Tony Pauline basically tipped us off that the Steelers are a team that would be competing for, what is his name?
JPJ. Come on, how can you forget JPJ?
JPJ. I got a lot of initials to be remembering.
Yeah, but remember last year was JPP. Now this year they could have JPJ. Jackson Powers Johnson. I don't necessarily know if a center at 21 is the right pick or the right answer. I have not looked at his film yet. I'm generally a person where I look at free agents. I look at draft prospects after free agency, because what's supposed to address the center spot? Why am I looking at Jackson Power Johnson, and the Dolphins don't need a center? I don't like to waste my time. Right now, I'm looking at the free agent centers to see what's available. And truthfully speaking, there isn't much available, which is why Mitch Morse's market is hot as hell. Yep. Okay, another contract, another Dolphin impending free agent is Andrew Van Ginkel, and our good friend Mike
Meister.
Yep. And Mike Tannenbaum, former Dolphin executive vice president of football operations for ESPN, on Saturday morning wrote a story about 5 free agents he would go after if he were running a team, and Andrew Van Ginkel was one of those. And the contract he would propose was 3 years, $36 million. Ouch.
Yeah, and I'm not doubting him. He's a pass rusher. He's a versatile linebacker who can play inside and outside. That price is a little steep for my personal taste at $12.5 million in guaranteed money for the year for the first 2 years. I'm a lot more comfortable with Andrew Van Ginkel in the $9 million a year realm, but I root for him. I cheer for him. I want to see him go get the bag and be put in a great situation. And according to Tannenbaum, who, Dolphin fans might not like him or might think he's a bum, but he's running an NFL franchise and been the top decision maker for over a decade. And there's a very short list of individuals, and done it for 2 teams. And there's a very short list of individuals in this world who can say the same thing. Does that mean he was a good executive? No. But one thing he does do and know is contract negotiations and player price points.
And he was an agent before that. Let's point that out. So it's not like the dude doesn't know his football. Again, as you said, Dolphin fans don't necessarily hold him in high regard, and there were some stupid comments made on Twitter when I promoted the story you wrote for Dolphins.com, for alldolphins.com, I should say. Oh, you're slow. You're slow on the trigger on the uptake this morning. Come on, Omar.
I wasn't looking. I was reading. Sorry.
Oh, got it. So
Yeah.
Omar analyzed the Mike Tannenbaum comments on Andrew Van Ginkel and elaborate on it. It's a very good breakdown. And I promoted it on Twitter, and of course there were stupid shots and comments taking it.
Yeah.
Dude,
He's a bum. He ran us into the ground. And
more like F Tannenbaum. Like, dude, you can not like the work he did with the Dolphins. That's fine. There's no reason to insult the guy. Or perhaps there's a bit of jealousy because the guy went from being an agent to being an NFL exec to now being on television talking about football. So I can see some of that.
He knows how to work the system and work people. Let's just put it that
and
way.
he's good on television, even though I don't agree with all of his takes. He's good.
He is phenomenal. He's not good. He's phenomenal on television.
Okay.
And I love his context and examples because it gives you backstories on some of these decisions that they make and choices and things of that nature. I loved his reasoning for it, for Andrew Van Ginkel's deal, because there's a lot of pass rushers who are going to get top dollar deals. And then there's the aged bunch in the back end. Andrew Van Ginkel is not aged. He doesn't have a ton of mileage on him. And more than likely, he's very scheme diverse. And the Dolphins are not going to be, and this is the key. And I think everybody needs to not miss this. Unless the Dolphins spend the next 4 days clearing $40 to $50 million in cap space, they're not in position to be in a bidding war with anybody about anything. And that means they're ripe for the picking in terms of teams can target their players and get them without much fight, which is why you'll see teams line up a Brinks truck for Christian Wilkins and Rob Hunt and Andrew Van Ginkel. I think Deshaun Elliott probably will have a little bit of an issue because the safety market is so flooded. But even guys like Kendall Lamb, if you're looking for a veteran offensive tackle who can be a swingman tackle, we're talking your number 6, number 7 offensive lineman. I mean, that's worth $3 to $4 million, maybe even $5 million on a multi-year deal. And I don't think Kendall wants to play that long, so probably a 2-year deal. And truthfully speaking, are you telling me, Alan Poupard, that the Dolphins can afford to pay Kendall Lamb $5 million a year? And that's a backup.
Well, because they have because they have so many. They have needs and they don't have a ton of maneuverability with their financial situation. And the other thing too that jumps out with Van Ginkel is he was a free agent last year, made visits New England and the Raiders. Dolphins got him back 1 year, 2.6. He ain't playing for 2.6.
No,
it's going to get somebody getting a big pay raise.
And props to him for what he's done. Props to Vic Fangio for actually seeing and believing in Andrew. Props to Chris Greer for drafting him and having a vision for him. I remember when he came in. There's a funny private joke amongst all the media members about me kind of disrespecting Andrew Van Ginkel on his draft day, not knowing that the teleconference. What, you don't remember this?
No, I remember that.
When I basically said that because he went to junior college, he's probably not bright, and he heard that.
Now I remember.
Because I have these preconceived notions and beliefs, like in today's age, or actually when Andrew Van Ginkel was a player, like literally, if you're going to junior college, you're either
be nice.
If you're ending up at a junior college as a football player, and I now understand the circumstances, he signed with a lower level college program, apparently did not like it there, went to junior college, ended up at Wisconsin. Now, that was before the days of the transfer portal, and you could basically pimp the system anyway. But Andrew Van Ginkel had a hard road to the NFL, and I unfortunately disrespected him because I put him in a stereotype of if you ended up at junior college, you were a dummy. You just didn't pass your SATs and you didn't take school seriously. Well, that wasn't the case with Andrew. And he pointed it out to me. He was like, hey, he had heard what was said because the speaker was on. And unfortunately, we have since cleared the air, and he understands my position.
He's a good mellow dude. Also, he's not somebody who would,
and he's really not dumb. He's very smart.
No. Correct. No, I agree.
So
that's the situation. These are 3 impending Dolphin unrestricted free agents who will get a lot of traction starting Monday. By the way, the official league year and signing period is Wednesday, 4 p.m.
However, Wednesday, 4 p.m. is when the deals will become official, but
correct.
Monday.
And that includes trades as well, because we already have a couple of trades in the NFL. The Bills, and there's one today, you don't look like you're aware of it. The Bills sent a guard, Ryan Bates, to the Bears for a draft pick, and today, Saturday, the Denver Broncos traded wide receiver Jerry Jeudy to the Cleveland Browns for 2 late-round picks. I think it's a 5 and a 6.
2 late-round picks?
5 and a 6.
I mean, I get it. Jerry Jeudy's coming up on the final year of his deal and then there's 5th-year option, but you just gave away Jerry Jeudy for a 5 and a 6?
Yeah,
like what the hell?
Browns, as a reminder, made the playoffs last year with 4 quarterbacks. Their defense, I believe, ended up the season number 1, I want to say. And if they weren't, they were near the top, or they were number 1 for quite a bit. That's another team in the AFC that's going to be a problem for the Dolphins to have.
Yeah, with Deshaun Watson's quarterback?
I happen to think he's going to be on the upswing personally.
We keep waiting for him to be on the upswing. Maybe he needs some massages.
Oh, hey, but
like, I'm just saying, he's fallen off since,
I know, but he also was out. He didn't play for a year and a half. And this is a team, again, they not only made the playoffs with their 4 quarterbacks without the best running back in the NFL, who was sidelined, Nick Chubb. Yeah. That team's going to be an issue again. The AFC North is completely loaded. So the easiest path for the Dolphins is to win that damn AFC East.
The way Buffalo has been kind of depleted by their roster perch, which they've had to do.
Yeah, but they haven't been depleted at the quarterback position. And that dude still reigns supreme in the AFC East until proven otherwise.
All right. Stop bragging.
I'm not bragging. I'm stating a fact. There's no bragging. I'm stating a fact.
Okay. Well, they're at $18 million in cap space that they still need to clear. I don't know what the trade does for that number. The Dolphins are at $29.9 million that they still need.
What are we talking about? The Bills?
Buffalo Bills.
No, Ryan Bates and them. I mean, I'm sure they cleared some. They'll clear some with it, but it's not somebody. And you have to look to make sure that transaction, even though it's not official, is not included in the list. So anyway, the whole point of my thing is that while the official start of the league year is Monday at noon is when the fun begins with the
negotiations and agreeing to deals.
And also on alldolphins.com, along with Omar's breakdown of the Andrew Van Ginkel thing, is I have a primer on free agency with all the technical questions, all the rules. It's actually very informative for those who sometimes wonder what the rules are. Oh, and somebody else had asked,
Poupard saying, educate yourself, you dummies.
No, but okay. And for those who
get smarter, people learn the rules.
Man. Okay, so be that as it may. Anyway, the Dolphins made some moves that we never addressed because we had guests on.
Doing very informative work and talking about very important topics of a very two timeless podcasts. You can go back and watch them, and I command you to go back and listen to those 2 podcasts. Get yourself educated about the draft with Tony Pauline, and then listen to the latest Dolphins Roundtable with Dave Hyde, my former X's and Omar colleague, and then Joe Shad, Palm Beach Post columnist.
Okay, so the moves that the Dolphins have made that we never really addressed on here include the official signing of Jonnu Smith. Mm-hmm. They include the signing of punter, and Omar, I know you want to spend a lot of time on this one, but we're going to have to calm you down a little bit. The re-signing of punter Jake Bailey, the addition of defensive tackle Davion Nixon, we did address the Isaiah Mack signing before.
Don't forget Elijah Campbell. That's important.
Oh, it's not.
Look at you. Tisk. You get a demerit. Elijah Campbell was re-signed. The Dolphins had the opportunity to put a restricted tender on him. That would have been for $2.8 million. That's nearly ridiculously twice the amount of price that you should pay for Elijah Campbell. I'm glad that they decided to sign him and bring him back because Elijah is a very good special teams player, and not just a good special teams player, but at one point during training camp, he was the front runner for the starting safety spot ahead of Deshaun Elliott before he got injured. He was.
He appeared to be.
He appeared. Oh, even Ronaldo Hill said it. Yeah. I remember I wrote on alldolphins.com because I was like, what the hell?
Well, no, he mentioned his name. I don't recall him saying that he was in the lead. I think somebody
he was that week, he was with the starters. And maybe that had something to do, but Deshaun was practicing. But anyway, let's not.
I was going to point out that there's somebody who wears a blue cap on an All Dolphins podcast who said from the start when they signed Deshaun Elliott, he'd be the starter at safety. But maybe I'm getting old. Maybe my memory has misled me.
That was you. I'm not going to deny it. That was you.
That was me. Jonnu Smith, love the signing. I would caution against anybody expecting, like, I don't know, Travis Kelce or
this is one of the best tight end coaches in the NFL.
Sorry?
I mean, Miami does have one of the best tight end coaches in the NFL.
That's fine. And Jonnu Smith brings an element that was missing in the passing game, which I dove into on alldolphins.com on Friday. I mean, they got nothing. And part of it was by design. Part of it was a conscious decision. But they got nothing out of the tight end position in terms of receiving. And that's an element that, that can help. And you look at the numbers, and what I did is I crunched the numbers of the final 8 teams in the playoffs. The only team that got even remotely as little production in the passing game from the tight ends was Tampa Bay, which was only one of the final 8 teams because they played in the god-awful NFC South, and then they got a Dragon Philly team in the first round of the playoffs, but I don't consider them one of the best 8 teams. But every other team got good contributions from tight ends in the passing game. That was an element the Dolphins needed to add, and they did that with Jonnu Smith.
Run after catch, monster, super athletic. Love that this is important to him because probably rooted for the Miami Dolphins during his time in South Florida. Really, really impressive athlete. I've watched him train personally at Bomberitos. Very, very impressive athlete. I do believe he might have been on my man crush list back when he was coming out in the draft. And this is a tight end who can not only give you.
Do you forget your crushes? Is that what happens? You just
crush.
It doesn't matter. You forget crushes? How rude. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Bro, who was your crush in 12th grade?
I remember, but you don't know her.
Yeah, you might not want to say it out loud. I think that this guy potentially could unseat Durham Smythe as the number 1 tight end. No, you don't think so?
No, not in the least.
He's got the athleticism to do it, and
sure.
he's not a meek guy, so he can block. This is not Durham Smythe. This is not.
Where you say this is not Mike
Gesicki.
Again. Not that I think that their grades are gospel, but if you look at the PFA blocking grades for tight ends, Jonnu Smith is in Mike Gesicki territory. So he's a receiving tight end, and he was like /H back. That's what he is. So I think he should have a role in this offense. The Dolphins should use him judiciously and make use of his pass catching ability and his yak. But I think Durham Smythe still your starter. And by the way, according to the PFF, and take that for what it's worth, Julian Hill had even worse blocking grades than Jonnu Smith. And
Julian Hill, really?
Yes. That's PFF. I'm not.
That's garbage.
Okay, no.
Julian Hill was a phenomenal blocker. Durham Smythe praises him for blocking. Says he's stronger than me. Like,
teammate compliments. You know how much I put. How much
no. These are not teammate compliments for like attributions. This is basically when nobody knew who the hell Julian Hill was, and everybody was trying to figure out why is this guy playing so much.
was it on the record? Was it on the record?
Can't remember if it was, but it wasn't a microphone up conversation.
But if it's on the record, to me, again, all due respect, teammate compliments on the record mean.
Tell me the compliment that Jerome Baker has ever said about Channing Tindall. Thank you. End of conversation.
Time out though. Has he ever been asked directly, what are your thoughts on Channing Tindall? How much, or the leading question is, how much potential does Channing Tindall have?
He's asked, what are your thoughts on Channing Tindall? And yeah.
What did he say?
Oh, it wasn't good. It got a lot to learn. It was one of those, got a lot to learn.
Okay. And that
was year 2, not year 1.
Okay. And from a teammate perspective, that's almost a saying the guy sucks, get him out of my face. That's the equivalent of that. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
You get that much, because usually
but that's my point. They don't always shower guys with praise. Like, no, that's not what happens. And then I get the private conversations of these of player thoughts, and trust me, those are very candid. And yeah,
on the record, it's extraordinarily rare that it's not praise, or at the very least, man, that guy's got a lot of talent. I mean, we basically made Preston Williams a Pro Bowler because X had some great comments on the record.
Preston Williams was dominating training camp. Don't you disrespect that man. Was he not?
Dominating way too strong a term.
He was feasting in training camp. You like that better?
Still too strong. He was impressive in his first training camp, sure. But I mean, X threw out that he's going to be like a number 1 wide receiver at some point, and everybody ran with it. All of a sudden, Preston Williams a Pro Bowler.
If we didn't see it on the field, I mean, the guy was an undrafted rookie who became an immediate starter. Let's put some respect on his name.
Well, there was a reason but if you're going to dig in, and this is a whole separate side story, there was a reason he was an undrafted free agent.
Yes, there was, and there was a reason that he didn't pan out in the NFL, which is up here. Yeah. Unfortunately, I remember. Yeah, this is the All Dolphins podcast, so we tell stories. I remember one press conference he came in, and it was clear as day. The dude was high as hell.
Yeah, that was you and me, and making the comment after the fact. We're like, whoa.
After practice, I'm like, damn, when did you smoke? Before practice or during practice? Anyway, let me not put the guy's business out there.
No, we're not. Yeah, and we're not suggesting. It just said it looked. That's all we're saying. It looked.
And smelled. Go ahead.
Okay. The re-signing. So Omar and I both like basically bottom line. We both like the Jonnu Smith signing because, again, it has an element that was badly missing from the tight end position. I mean, badly. And here's the thing. There's a lot of similarities between Jonnu Smith and Mike Gesicki. The one major upgrade is, let's be honest, upgrade.
We're not going to do that. The one's a rat.
I'm going to do that. Jonnu Smith is better after the catch by a long shot.
Yeah.
But they're both receiving tight ends, okay, who are not necessarily going to contribute that much as blockers. So let's hope that Mike McDaniel was serious when he was talking about the evolution of his tight end and the role of his tight end in the offense to Greg Olsen at the end of the Dallas telecast. Re-signing Jake Bailey, my only thing there is, was there a hurry to do that? And because he ranked in the bottom third and basically in gross average, net average, the one place he was decent, I think it was 11th or 12th in the inside the 20 to touchback ratio. And I don't go by the number of inside the 20 because he didn't have as many punting opportunities as other punters. So I go by the ratio, which again was good. The other factor as well is there a major comfort level with Jason Sanders with him as his holder, which, yes, can apply. Even though it's kind of subtle, I think certain kickers maybe have some preference for their holder. I think Matt Hawk had a reputation as a very good holder. And he now is signed with the Bills. While they were chopping a bunch of players, they signed Matt Hawk. So other than that, though, I don't necessarily understand the rush to sign him, particularly when you need to shed space before March 13th. But
Yeah, and I'm very curious if the Dolphins are actually reporting these deals now or if they're going to wait till March 13th to actually report deals. And that's not a question that I can get clarification on at the immediate time.
Well,
But yeah,
Campbell's announcement, which means it's turned into the league. Jonnu Smith's been announced; it's turned into the league. The only one that has not been announced is Jake Bailey.
hey, they must have a master plan to clear cap space. So I'm dying to see what this plan is. I've been and to address the Jake Bailey. I don't want to miss the opportunity to address Jake Bailey.
No,
He's a punter. Who cares?
I actually thought for half a second that you were actually going to say something of substance, and instead of dissing on punter, silly me.
Yeah.
And the last one is Davian Nix, who was the 2020 Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year at Iowa. And I reached out to our good friend Skylar Callahan, publisher of All Panthers on Fan Nation, who joined us for Behind Enemy Lines. Is that what we called it? Behind Enemy Lines, when the Dolphins played the Panthers last year, who told me there's something there, that it's not like a complete, I need to be polite how I say this, that again, it's as a guy who didn't play in the NFL last year, but there's something there to work with. So possibly he makes the back end of the roster. Who knows?
What are you talking about? He's going to be Christian Wilkins' replacement. Stop it. Stop telling these people lies.
By the way, did you see the very cool irony here? His last NFL team was the Seahawks, got cut by the Seahawks to make room for another player who they claimed off waivers from the Baltimore Ravens, and that player was Isaiah Mack, who also signed with the Dolphins this week.
Wait a minute. This brother got cut by Isaiah Mack, and now they're teammates?
Yes.
Wow. Ouch.
Yep.
Little rivalry there.
It could be that they could wind up fighting for the last roster spot at defensive tackle.
Interesting. All right, we've addressed everything, including the punter signing. Who cares? We will be back on Monday unless something happens that's extremely pressing and important and significant on Sunday, which is a possibility. We will be back on Monday doing more All Dolphins podcast work. You know how to find our work. alldolphins.com for free, no paywall, no subscription, no monthly membership, no charging your credit card. You click it, you read it. And also, you know how to find our work on podcast platforms. Every podcast platform, we are All Dolphins, and you can find the last 3 episodes. I'm telling you, they're not timely. They're good. You want to learn about the draft, listen to that Tony Pauline episode. You want to learn about how Dave Hyde, Joe Shad feel about Chris Greer's performance, feel about Tua Tagovailoa's extension, feel about not tagging Christian Wilkins, feel about who can improve the team in the offseason. We address so many topics. That would be episode 239.
You are correct, sir.
Ooh, look at that. See? Look at that. Appreciate that. And we will see you on Monday.